Hi, my name is Arvin. I'm a member of Dicecast. I play the character of Jagrick Basilev, and I'm here today to talk more about his personal history and what went on behind the scenes in terms of making this character. First off, Jagrick, as you all know, is a Dragonborn. He's a brass type of Dragonborn. He's around 7 feet tall and almost 280 pounds of muscle. And Dragonborns normally have their clan name before their personal name. Their clan name is Basilev. Jagrick is descended from a brass dragon who was named Basilev the Unforgiving by members of his region and territory. Um, Basilev became enamored by the life of a folk hero. So instead of staying in a cave and hoarding treasure and whatnot, you can usually find him on adventures or on the battlefield. A lot of people sought his help, and he was more than willing to give it as long as it wasn't an evil cause. Although he was called Basilev the Unforgiving, that was more because of what his enemies would call him, because the townsfolk actually love the guy. He's very playful and he's loyal to a fault. So all of the Dragonborn that were descended from this particular brass dragon are actually well loved. Now, all of them, every member of this clan, grew up on stories of Basilev's exploits, and all of them wanted to become part of something bigger. They wanted to find their own glory, or they wanted to honor the legacy left to them by Basilev by following in his footsteps. And actually, that's where we find Jagrick also, but a bit in his later years. When he was younger, he's currently 30 during our campaign. When he was younger, he fought in a big war and he lost many of his friends in the process. It's easy to think that being a hero needs you to be this flashy, super powerful adventure on the front lines, defeating wave after wave of enemies. Jarek didn't really think it through when he pursued the life of a soldier. He wasn't ready for the pain that came with that kind of life. He regretted losing so many of his friends during the war, all because he himself wasn't strong enough to protect them like he imagined he would. He thought he could be this great singular hero that could turn the tide of battle, but sadly it didn't go that way. After that particular experience, Jagrick just went about trying to find himself again as a mercenary. As a Dragonborn, he's still particularly drawn to battle, to glory, but in terms of skill, he kinda changed it up a bit. He's more focused on trying to understand what matters to him the most. See, when Jagrick went ahead and joined that big war in the hopes of becoming a hero, he was only doing it because of the stories he heard about Basilev and what he's done. It wasn't really because that was what he particularly found to be important. Now, Sarah's actually the first member of this party that he teamed up with, and it was more or less by accident. Jagrick will never admit this to Sariel's face, but he actually enjoys her music. So, Jagrick took notice of Sariel when she was performing at this village that he passed by, and seeing that she was traveling alone, with no real bodyguards to protect her as a squishy bard. Jagrick offered his services to protect her, but he never intended for it to turn into another important relationship. Going from a character who blindly sought glory, Jagrick has turned into this person who just wants to protect what he deems to be important. And at the moment, it's his closest friends. If you ask him to save his friends or the world, he would most likely choose his friends first. As Arvin and as a role player, this iteration of the character named Jagrick is actually the third version. The first ever character I made that had Jagrick in its name was actually a human. It wasn't my own character that I tried to set in the world of Monster Hunter. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Monster Hunter franchise from Capcom, but that's where I first built my character. The second iteration of my Jagrick character was Rick Jagrick Jagger. It was from a different campaign with a different set of friends. He was more impulsive, I would say, than this one. Still chaotic, but he was more aggressive, I would say. I also made the mistake of giving him lightning breath rather than fire. He wasn't very useful outside of a fight. I know this turned out to be a very solemn video, but role-playing is very liberating for me, and it's also an exercise in figuring out the possible reactions or consequences that other people would have of a particular mindset that you're working with. It's a space where you're free to make decisions that you normally wouldn't do in the real world, and of course, you're not exactly constrained by your own limits in the real world. So you can really take it as extreme as you want. But in D&D, they have this morality system installed that you can actually test. In the same way that Jagrick is on a quest to understand what's important to him, he's also on it to understand what it means to be good. At its core, being good just means you need to help people or care about others, not be selfish. But Jagrick's particular experience with being good has often led the people he cares about to be in danger. So rather than it being an issue of self-sacrifice, which Jagrick is fine with, he hates the idea that in choosing to do good, he might end up sacrificing other people that he cares for. And I guess that's it for now. If you guys have any questions about Jagrick or D&D that you might want to ask, just post a message below and we'll get back to you. Thank you for listening. Bye.